Hey guys, in this video we are going to talk about Shell, especially for early game and mid game progression. Now, first thing first, I want to say big thanks to everybody that watched the video from yesterday, subscribed, liked the video, comment and everything. It was my best performing video ever in this channel, so big thank you to all of you guys that supported me. And also because I have but I have a good amount of new people watching the channel and the video. I want to say the game is Etheria restart. It's in the final beta now, it's an open beta. And it's gonna get wiped, so the accounts are gonna get wiped in May 19. So if you start to play the game now, just be careful about that, so you know. And the official game will be out on June 5th. And also, the account is not free to play. I was free to play on day one. There is a video about that where you can see all the progress you can actually make on day one being free to play. After that, because I decided that I'm not going to reroll, I start to spend money so that I can enjoy the rebate bonus when the official game comes out. And for this reason, you don't have to feel the pressure to be on L difficulty in day 4 like I did yesterday, and it's just not necessary. I do it because I want to make content for the game on YouTube, and also because I want to try as many things as possible during the final beta. But of course, you don't have to rush things, you don't have to push, and if you don't reach L on day 4, your account is not messed up and you didn't mess up, it's fine, it's normal, it's okay. So I don't want you guys to feel like the pressure of performing in the game. I just make the video to be informative and not to make you feel bad about the progress in the game. Like, I want you guys to enjoy the game as much as I do, and that's why I make video, and hopefully they help you. And so, all this stuff is out of the way. Now let's talk about the shell. I think I'm gonna make a 2-part video because it's probably gonna be kinda long. And in this one, we are gonna see what do you drop from every Green Pursuit up to end game. And for end game, for me, I mean Nico Nana, which is where you start to find Mythic Rarity shell. And let's start with the first one, which is Jakes. I don't know how to pronounce. Just so you know, English is not my first language, so I'm gonna mess up the names a lot. Just so you've been warned. And let's start with Scorpion Queen. Scorpion Queen is gonna be the first shell that you're gonna use on your healer. As you can see, it's quite easy to understand what is the role of the healer. What is the role of the shell? Because you can see here, first of all, they tell you what the shell does. In this case, it's a healer. And also you can see the matrix available for each shell. That means that this shell is gonna have only one set available, which is called matrix in this game. It's gonna be the Wellspring. And this one is HP 10%. So you see it's an HP set. That means that you're not gonna use this one in any DPS character, for example. So even before you read the effect, you already know this one is going to be a healer from this tag here and the matrix that it has. And then, of course, when you actually start to read, it says that after the owner takes action, heals the owner and the allied animus with the lowest HP for 1200 plus 8% of own max HP. So you want to put these on a healer, and the healer usually you're going to build them with the max HP set because you don't actually need speed on the healer most of the time. It depends on situation, but most of the time you want to have a max HP set on your healer, especially early game, mid game. And this one is going to be the first choice. Now, this one is Red Comet for your DPS. As you can see, it has a DPS matrix. You don't care that much about the matrix early game because just with one, it's useless. You're not going to be able to do any interesting build. And this one, I would advise if you have like a healer character and you want to start to invest into healer early, you can actually level up this one. It's not bad. It's not a bad choice in my opinion. This one for the DPS is not that good, and the reason is because you find this true in normal, and then you're gonna be able to clear hard mode quite fast, in my opinion. And that's when you get another DPS shell, which is Agent Lizard, and it's very, very good. And so you don't want to invest into Red Comet because you're gonna invest into Agent Lizard. So if you drop Red Comet and you put it in your DPS, and maybe you have in the hyperlinker chart, you have a quest that says you need one shell to level 10. Of course, you can level up the shell to level 10. And that's it really. Like, I don't think it's a good idea to ascend it or level it up too much because you're gonna switch very, very fast to Agent Lizard. Now this one, as you can see, it's already a higher rarity, and this one is quite good. So first of all, it has 2 matrix. Again, early game you don't really care, especially you don't care about speed set in your DPS. And the thing is, the bonus is very good. Before the owner take action, select the enemy with the lowest HP percentage and deal 50% plus 2000 damage, increasing their number 1 instance of damage taken by 15%. This is what you want to use early game, and also a good part of mid game in your DPS. That's also what I did for my Lian, for example, for my Real Mokka, etc. And in this one you can actually start to invest, you can actually start to level it up a little bit and also ascend if you want and if you need it, because this one is good and you're probably gonna keep it for quite some time in your DPS. Then we have Shadowrunner. Shadowrunner is the second Grim Pursuit that you are going to do. And this one has Phantom Cat. I see a lot of people using Phantom Cat. I'm not a huge fan, honestly. Like, the bonus is not bad. I'm not gonna read all the bonus because otherwise the video is gonna be like 1 hour. But as you can see, the bonus is not bad. But again, your amount of resources is very limited, especially if you're gonna be free to play. And so you cannot invest into literally any new shell every time you unlock something new. So, and especially because this one is still not high rarity, like this shoe is not purple rarity, I would say you can skip, unless you get stuck with your progress, which is not very likely, I would skip this one and start to consider this one more if you want to invest into something else. This one, Teacher Role, is healer. As you can see, it does have like a bit of confusing matrix setup, but before the owner takes action, increase the healing result by 1600 this turn. So you want to use this one in a character that is gonna have some kind of healing skill. You don't want to use it in a DPS. I'm not sure why they put it on with a DPS set. Maybe there is some build that you can do on a healer with some DPS build. I'm not sure, I didn't do anything like that. But this one, it's quite good. I actually have it in my Valerian, for example. Now, Valerian is not the biggest healer in the game, I wouldn't even consider her a healer, but early game I think it's a nice option to have on a character like that. Then you have this one. This one is another one that you're probably gonna use in a lot of character. And the reason is, first of all, it has Swift Swift Matrix available, and it also has Unbreakable. Most likely you're not gonna build double, like you're not gonna have a double Matrix build already at that point in the game, and I wouldn't really advise to do that with him. And so just try to farm the Swift Rush set on this shell, and the effect is very good. After the owner takes action, increase the turn meter by 30%. This is what you use on most of your characters that are not DPS or healer, like Chiaki, Freya, any character that is not a DPS and is not a healer, so you want them to go fast. For example, like also CC character, even if that is more relevant in arena, I would say it's more important for them to be fast in arena. But yeah, this is it goes literally on like you can put it on literally everybody that is not a healer or a DPS, and in some cases also the healer if you want. Like, I don't consider Freya a healer in my case, in my opinion, but this is what I use on Freya, for example. So if you consider Freya a healer, still this one is gonna be a good one. And also, just so you know, you can see recommendation. For example, I was talking about Chiaki. You can see here, like you go in the profile of the character, and then there is like this book icon. And when you go to, for example, mid stage, which is where most people are right now, it has like a set amount of data that they get from what player use, and they, as you can see, for example, this is the shell that most people use on Chiaki, and so you can tell, okay, this is probably a good choice. If you don't know, if you're confused, you're probably not because you're watching this video, but in case you didn't know, you can see what other people are building in this section, and usually this is quite accurate. Maybe not on DPS, I see people doing weird stuff on the DPS, but in most of the case for SR character, for example, it works fine. And now let's go back. So to make a summary, this one is the one I would say from Shadowrunner that you're gonna invest the most, and before it was this one. This one is gonna be for your DPS, and this one is gonna be for your supporting characters, anything that is not healer or DPS, and that's what you want to invest the most, in my opinion, in early game. Now here we start to have more purple rarity shell. I would say this is where people start to get confused usually, because they already have like 4 from before, and now you get another 3, and people start to be like, okay, should I actually start to invest into them and build them for my character, or should I skip them and go on? My opinion is that in most cases, unless you're stuck with your progress, you kind of want to skip them. Not because they're bad, but just because, again, the resources are very limited, and so it's probably not the best idea to focus on these guys. If you want to like play the game at your own pace, and so it's you're not rushing the content for PvP or whatever other reason, then you probably can stop and start to build them up if you want. If you're rushing like I do, I didn't touch any of them, honestly. I just did the run for the star, for the quest from the hyperlinker charts, and that's it. But let's see them very fast. White Gale, you can see supporter as matrix for anything that is not a DPS. And before the owner take action, deal to it, and damage to the target with the highest attack and extended duration of non-control debuff inflicted by the owner this turn by 1 turn. So basically you want to use this shell in anything that is not a CC character. So for example on Kraken this doesn't work well because it says to non-control debuff, and Kraken you use it for the control debuff, which is the freeze in this case. So for example this one could go on Dyna. In their case the debuff is not a CC and is not a damage over time. But honestly, I would still use the one that buff her turn meter, and I think that's actually what I still have in my Dyna. So yes, I don't say they're bad, but I wouldn't really go for them. Then we have Tamamo Doji. It's before the owner takes action, increase attack by 600 for 2 turn. Again, it's not good, like it's not bad, but when I build Shell for my DPS, I prefer stuff like him, where they actually deal damage and some kind of buff or debuff to, like buff to your animals or debuff to the enemy. And that's why I would say this one is not that interesting in my opinion. I wouldn't go for that. And then we have Budo Panda. Out of the 3, Budo Panda is the best one in my opinion. And let's see very quick. Of course, as you can see from the matrix, this one is mostly for DPS. After the owner takes action, follow up on the main target, dealing 2 hits. So this one actually attack the enemy of 25% plus 1000 damage. On critical hit, increase the owner animus critical damage by 4% up to 6 stacks. So this one, you want to use it for like long run and for character with where doing crit it's very important. Now of course doing crit rate, like having a high crit rate, is important for literally every DPS, but for some is more important than others. So for example I would say if you pick Rosa for example from your selector, then it's a good choice. Okay, as you can see it's 12% people use Budo Panda, still 23% still use Agent Lizard. And the reason is that not because Budo Panda is not as good as Agent Lizard. In this case for Rosa probably Budo Panda is better, but again you don't have the resource to build him straight up after you built maybe 1, 2 or 3 Agent Lizard, depending on how many DPS you have. So that's why most people skip it, and I would also say it's worth skipping, but up to you. If you want a good example, Rosa is a good example where to use this shell. And then we have Kuru, nice name. And this one is still with the purple rarity shell. Mermaid Princess. Okay, Mermaid Princess is the first shell that you find in the game that can purify debuff. And I would say purifying debuff is 99% something that you care about in PvP. Is not that important in my opinion in PvE, honestly. So if you care about PvP, you can actually go for this shell. I mean, I care about PvP, but I still didn't have time or resource to invest into this one. If you want PvP, that's great. Otherwise, you can skip it. Then we have Reason. And this one is for the healer. Before the owner takes action, increase the healing by 25% this turn, and then if the heal target has less than 50% HP, also applies heal over time. This is actually good if you need to change the shell in your healer. So for example, if you have Mia or you have Linglo, you can actually go for this one. If you use like me, character like Freya or Valerian that are not strictly healer in my opinion, I would not go for this one, but it's not bad. It's definitely a good choice for any character with some healing. And then we have Star. Star is actually quite interesting. And before the owner takes action, reduce their next skill cooldown by 1 turn. I used to put this one in my Kraken because, especially before I maxed out his skill 3, because when you max out skill 3, usually in most character, it applies 1 turn cooldown reduction. So before that, that's kinda useful. Of course, this is for PvE. Like, it's something that you want to consider for PvE, not for PvP. And again, I think it's, in some cases, for some CC character, when the skill tree is not maxed, this one is a good alternative. And then this is where we start to get into the interesting stuff before the end game. My goodness, I moved stuff so much. And the first one is Phoebe. I farm the hell out of this run because they have like some very amazing shell in my opinion. I prefer this one compared to Whitney. And I'm gonna tell you why. So first of all, you still have a bunch of purple shell from the previous run. Not very important in my opinion. Then we have the first 3 epic shell that you're gonna find, and this is where you start to build up more like this shell, because you're gonna need them for the end game, like to access and to clear end game content, so that you can get mythic rarity module and shell. You're gonna need these bad guys here like maxed out in my opinion. So first one is Diamond Heart. Is not very interesting in my opinion. Is out of the 3 is the one that I like the least. And let's just see very fast. So support here, matrix available. This is where you can actually start to build a double set in your character. So this is actually where matrix available start to be important. And before the owner takes action, increase their defense by 550 for 2 turns, then apply a 2-turn shield equal to 300% of own defense to the owner animus and ally with the lowest HP percentage. Now, I don't think most people play very defensively. Like, usually what you care about in your character that are not DPS and that are not your DPS is speed and HP. Defense is good. I would say early game I would prefer HP on percentage compared to defense of percentage. Defense of percentage start to be more relevant in end game maybe, but still this one compared to the other two is like it's not like it's bad, but the other two are just better. And again, you have limited amount of resource, so I would advise to focus on the other two and not this one. If you take things with a slower pace, then maybe you can actually focus on this one, but what I would focus on is Black Flag and Twilight Knight. These are very, very good. So first of all, Black Flag. This one is very, very good matrix. You can build him with speed, and then you can choose if you want to go for Bramble, Unbreakable, or Wellspring, depending on the character. And this one goes literally on any character that you're built on speed. So anything that is not a DPS or a healer or like a full healer like Linglo or Mia, I would go for Black Flag. And for example, for my Freya, for Chiaki, for any CC character, Kraken, any debuff character like Dinah, I always want to build them with this. Of course, I cannot build all of them with this because it's even spending money, I don't have the resource, but still, this is very, very good. And after the owner takes action, perform a follow-up attack on the main target, dealing 120% damage, and apply a 2-turn speed up to the owner animus and increase their turn meter by 12%. This means that this shell makes the animus, where you equip it, much faster during the match, and this is very, very important in basically everything from PvP to PvE, any mode in PvE, it's important that your character go fast. And this one applies both a speed up buff and also it increases the turn meter, so it's perfect for that objective. So this one is very, very good, and I will give you an example. I think here on Lily, for example, I have a maxed out Black Flag. And I don't remember, yes, I also use it on Kraken, for example, and as you can see, I maxed out both of them. This one is Wellspring and Swift because I'm actually only running Swift set, and this one is actually Wellspring because I'm running both Wellspring and Swift Rush set on Lily. So this one is very good, and I show you this is actually what I'm using in my characters. And let's go back, and now we have Twilight Knight. This is definitely my favorite when it comes to shell for DPS, and the reason is that it does a very good job of what it's supposed to do. And so let's read the effect. Before the owner takes action, deals 170% damage to the enemy with the lowest HP percentage and reduce their defense by an additional 50% this turn. This is so freaking good in literally any DPS. Like, you put this one in any DPS, you cannot go wrong. Is very, very good. And also the matrix available is very good because in DPS you want to go with, this is going to be the main set that you have in literally every DPS. And you farm it in Terrormato, so it's the easiest one to get. And this is where you can start to actually split and do 2 different sets. For example, you could do 8 pieces of Onslaught, and then you have 8 pieces of Harvest to have the extra bonus, which is when attacking, if the target HP is above 50%, additionally ignore 30% of their defense. This is very good. And also Battle Wheel is very good. Again, if after the Animus use an attack skill, there is a 20% chance to launch follow-up attack on the main target. This is, you can make so many good builds for DPS with these 2 sets. And so this is my shell that I always choose for every DPS. So to give an example that I'm not telling you bullshit, this is what I have on my Lian. It's also what I have in my Messiah. I didn't build one for Ilmoka yet, I think. Maybe I have one on Rosa. No, Rosa no, because I'm actually trying to build this one, but I don't have the resources, so I'm not there yet. But yes, I want to give that one to Rosa. And so yeah, this is like a very, very good shell for literally any DPS. And as you can see, I'm using Onslaught and Harvest set on both. I think for Messiah it's actually good to go for Battle Wheel if you want, but I farmed so much and I didn't find a good Onslaught and Battle Wheel set like Matrix in my shell, so I gave up. I was very sad, but yeah, this is very, very good. And now for the last one is gonna be Whitney. And Whitney has a lot of good shell. The problem is that I spent so much building the previous epic shell that I don't have any resource left for them. And I like them a little bit less. Let's see them very, very quickly because the video is already way too long. And Blizzard. After the original takes action, has 50% chance to reduce the cooldown of one random skill on cooldown by 1 turn. So this is like the improved version of the previous shell with cooldown reduction. Is very good for literally anything that is not your main healer, like full healer or DPS. The problem is that I don't have resource to build him, but it's very good. Crossroad, it's the first shell that you have with the life leech, and this is quite interesting and quite good, but again, my logic when I choose like shell for my DPS is to go for something that go for damage and also apply a buff or debuff, so it's not my favorite, but it's definitely interesting. So if you want to make some interesting build with that one, you definitely can do that. Electro Squid is very very good for healer. If you have a main healer like Linglo or Mia, you probably want to go for this one. And before the owner takes action, empower the owner Animus to increase the healing by 20% for 2 turns, and if the heal target HP percent is below 40%, additionally applies 1 turn heal over time. This is very very good for healer. I don't have any specific healer character in my team, so I don't use it, but if you do, that's very very good, also for Sanya for example. And then we have this one, Shanghai Jing, I don't know if I butchered the name, but this one, it's interesting, I would say. For every 3 action accumulated by enemy units, increase the owner turn meter by 20% and can be triggered up to 1 time per turn. This is like, if you are in a tough situation, for example, in PvP, this can be very useful, and also depend, in some PvE mode, it's also very good. I'm just not a fan of this type of effect. I prefer when I build stuff for my character. Yes, turn meter is amazing, obviously, but also I want to focus on speed. That's why I prefer the purple one. Also because, again, when I reach this point in the game, I never have enough resource to build any of them. And most likely, I would say most people will also be in the same spot as me, because they're gonna focus on the shell from Fabian. And so yeah, I would say unless you really need it, you can farm that mode like Whitney, but otherwise I would advise people mostly to farm Twilight Knight and Black Flag. Now the video is already very long, so as I mentioned before, I'm gonna split it into 2. And in the next one, we are going to talk about the bonus from the shell, because as you can see, they have a bunch of passive effect. And yeah, we're gonna talk there, because otherwise it's too long. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you learned something useful. If you did, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.